A classic that everyone has heard of, yet few have truly understood the painted veil. Why has this novel left such a deep impression in the hearts of readers worldwide, remaining timeless even after being adapted into films? On the surface, it tells the story of a marriage marked by betrayal and punishment, but at its core, it asks a profound question. When we become trapped by our own choices, and regret veils our eyes like a shroud, can we still tear it away to see our true selves? Let us step into the Hong Kong and Mei-tan-fu of Maugham's pen, following in Kitty Fane's footsteps to explore a journey of the soul from degradation to awakening, and see how regret becomes the sharpest mirror, reflecting both the fragility and the brilliance of human nature. Chapter 1. A Hastily Woven Veil. Garston was born into a typical middle-class family in London. Her mother was a strong-willed and snobbish woman who, from Kitty's childhood, groomed her as a premium commodity in the marriage market. Kitty's beauty was her greatest asset, and she had grown accustomed to using her looks to gain men's attention, flattery, and fleeting affection. At 25, as her younger sister Doris was about to marry into the aristocracy, her mother's reproaches lashed at her heart like a whip. Kitty panicked. She feared becoming the last unmarried daughter in the family. In this state of fear, she met Walter Fane, a taciturn bacteriologist. He proposed to her at a dance, awkwardly yet sincerely. Kitty accepted almost without thinking. She believed marriage would free her from her mother's control, and that although Walter was dull, he was at least respectable and could give her a decent status. After the wedding, Walter took her to Hong Kong. He hoped the novelty of a foreign land would mend the cracks in their relationship and allow Kitty to gradually fall in love with him. But Kitty soon grew tired of his silence and his inscrutable gaze. She began attending dances and tea parties in Hong Kong's social circles, where she met Charles Townsend, a charming assistant colonial secretary. Charles was married, yet he excelled at captivating women with sweet words and tender looks. Kitty felt she had finally found true love. She and Charles began a secret affair. During each rendezvous, she imagined herself as the heroine of a novel, romantic and brave. Walter seemed oblivious, or perhaps he chose to turn a blind eye. Until one day, Walter calmly told her he knew everything. He did not rage or strike her. Instead, in a near-cold tone, he gave her two options: either convince Charles to divorce and marry her, or accompany him to the cholera-ravaged inland town of Mei-tan-fu. She was stunned. She immediately sought out Charles, expecting him to protect her like a knight. But Charles hemmed and hawed, first saying his wife would collapse, then that his children needed a father, and finally hinting that divorce would ruin his career. Kitty looked at the man who once thrilled her and suddenly felt sickened. She finally saw clearly. Charles was as selfish as she was. What they craved was never each other, but the illusion of being loved. Walter kept his word. He truly took Kitty with him on the journey. In that moment, Kitty realized this marriage had been a hastily woven veil from the very beginning. She used beauty and vanity to conceal her inner emptiness. Walter used silence and restraint to hide his burning love, and Charles used charm and lies to mask his cowardice. Beneath the veil lay the truth none wanted to face. We often deceive ourselves the longest with the most ornate disguises. Kitty's hasty decision was a microcosm of many women in that era. In London middle-class families then, a daughter's marriage was often not a personal choice of emotion, but a continuation of family social status. Her mother repeatedly told her, "Beauty is your weapon, but use it on the right person." But who was the right person? Her mother's criteria were titles, income, and social circles. Kitty had been instilled with these values from childhood. She never truly asked herself, What kind of life do I want? Who do I want to spend my days with? When Walter entered her life, he seemed like a safe harbor. He was not eloquent, but reliable. He had no illustrious family background, yet a stable future. Kitty thought this was suitable. She overlooked the most fatal detail: does not equal love. Many years later, sitting in the convent in Mei-tan-fu, she recalled that rushed wedding and understood. Hasty decisions often stem from fear, not courage. She feared loneliness, feared the label of old maid, feared her mother's disappointed gaze. These fears were invisible threads pushing her toward Walter and later toward betrayal. If time could turn back, would she choose to remain single? Would she give herself a few more years to truly know someone instead of rushing to board the ship of marriage? Unfortunately, life has no what-ifs, only countless if-onlys at the time. These if-onlys pile up into regret, and regret became the starting point for her tearing away the veil. Chapter 2: The Breath of Death in Mei-tan-fu. The journey from Hong Kong to Mei-tan-fu was long and arduous. For the first time, Kitty felt real fear. The train swayed, the air thick with dampness and decay. She curled up in her seat, feeling she might die at any moment. Strangely, this threat of death began to awaken her. Mei-tan-fu was a small city utterly devastated by cholera. Corpses lay in the streets, the air reeked of burning bodies, and wails echoed from all directions. Walter threw himself into epidemic prevention work upon arrival, wearing a white coat and rushing day and night between hospital and patients, dispensing medicine, disinfecting, and recording cases. His figure was gaunt yet focused, as if the disaster around him had nothing to do with him. At first, Kitty only wanted to hide in their temporary rented house, locking doors and windows, refusing all contact with the outside world. She saw herself as the victim, a woman forcibly dragged to hell by Walter. But within days, the French nuns from the convent found her. They wore simple gray habits, yet their faces held an almost saintly calm. An elderly nun told her, "Child, you did not come here to enjoy comfort, but to serve. If you are willing, you can help us care for orphans or bring water to patients." Kitty wanted to refuse, but she had nowhere to go and nothing to do. In the end, she followed the nuns to the convent. At first, her efforts were clumsy and reluctant. She spilled half the water she carried, choked children while feeding them, and scalded her hands washing sheets with hot water. But gradually, she found that busyness could temporarily make her forget her inner emptiness. The small hands of orphans clutching her skirt, the weak thanks of dying patients, these made her feel useful for the first time. One day, she personally wiped the forehead of a young mother on the brink of death. The woman was delirious yet kept murmuring her child's name. Kitty suddenly wept. She realized she had never truly cried for anyone before. She had always lived before the mirror, living for her beauty. Now, her hands touched life and death for the first time. In that moment, she seemed to hear her inner voice whisper, "Living is not just about being seen." Before, she always adjusted her hairstyle and applied lipstick in the mirror, as if only perfect appearance proved her existence. Now, her hands smelled of disinfectant, her clothes stained with patient's vomit, yet she felt this dirty version of herself was more real than any dressed-up moment. This reality hurt, but it also carried strength. Taught her that beauty fades, praise vanishes, but kindness done with one's hands can leave lasting marks in others' hearts. Convent life was simple to the point of primitiveness. No perfume, no silk gowns, no servants serving afternoon tea. Kitty rose at 5 every morning to sweep the courtyard, cook porridge, and wash bandages with the nuns. Hands soon grew calluses, her fingernails forever stained with unremovable grime. First, she felt humiliated and even cried secretly. But gradually, she discovered this physical labor brought a strange peace. When kneeling to scrub floors, her mind no longer replayed dance music from Hong Kong or Charles's sweet words. When feeding children, she no longer worried about her makeup. She began noticing others' needs. Does this feverish child need an extra blanket? What song does that dying old woman want to hear? These small acts of care shifted her attention from me to us. Once, she cared for a 5 or 6-year-old girl whose parents had died of cholera. The child curled in a corner and refused to speak. Kitty tried hugging her, telling stories, even awkwardly singing nursery rhymes. The little girl finally fell asleep in her arms. In that moment, Kitty felt a strange warmth in her chest. She realized, being needed feels more solid than being loved. Walter occasionally passed by the convent, seeing her busy figure but never praising her. He simply left some medicine or food and departed. Kitty knew he was silently acknowledging her change through his actions. But he still kept his distance, for the wound was too deep and trust needed time to rebuild. Walter remained cold toward her. When he returned from work, he spoke only a few words before sitting at his desk to write reports. Kitty tried several times to speak, only to be silenced by his calm gaze. She began to reflect, what kind of person had she truly hurt? That man who had loved her wholeheartedly from the start, whom she had dismissed as dull, what untold pain had he hidden? Chapter 3: The Stranger in the Mirror. In the convent, Kitty met Waddington, a British customs official. He was witty and sophisticated, smoking his pipe and recounting Hong Kong society gossip in ways that briefly made her laugh. Waddington's wife was Chinese, and he was devoted to her, which Kitty found astonishing. One day, slightly drunk, Waddington told Kitty, "You know, Walter loves you deeply. He loves you so much that he cannot forgive your betrayal. He brought you here not to punish you, but because he couldn't bear to let you go." Kitty was stunned. She had always thought Walter cold and heartless. Now she learned his silence was extreme pain. She began recalling details from before the marriage, how Walter humbled himself before her mother, how he arranged her rooms in Hong Kong, how he cared for her in every small way. Yet she had never truly looked at him. At night, she often lay awake. Images of Charles's evasive face repeated in her mind. I cannot abandon my wife and children. She finally understood she and Charles were cut from the same cloth. They loved only the illusions they needed, never truly giving to each other. She gathered courage to ask Walter, "Why did you bring me here? You could have divorced me and left me ruined in Hong Kong." Walter paused his pen and said quietly, "Because I still love you." Those words pierced Kitty's final defenses like a knife. She cried not for herself this time, but for another person. She began to see Walter's pain, the nun's devotion, the orphan's helplessness. The mirror was no longer for makeup. It had become a mirror of humanity. It revealed her unacknowledged selfishness and her untapped kindness. Waddington's story also moved Kitty deeply. He had married a Chinese woman and lived with her in a simple house outside Mei-tan-fu. His wife spoke no English, yet he learned Chinese. They loved each other in the most unadorned way. Waddington said, "Love is not grand declarations. It is the daily repetition of the ordinary." Hearing this, Kitty felt a mix of emotions. She recalled her nights with Charles full of champagne, candlelight, and lies, then compared them to Waddington and his wife's life of plain meals and mutual support, so real it ached. For the first time, she envied that quiet happiness. She began seeking out Waddington to talk, asking how he remained faithful to his wife. Waddington smiled, "Because I know there is no second her in the world. She is not perfect, but I chose her, so I accept all of her." Those words struck Kitty like a hammer. She suddenly realized she had never truly chosen Walter. She merely accepted his love without offering equal feeling in return. She treated marriage as a transaction. "I give you beauty and social status. You give me security." But love is never a transaction. It is a mutual rush toward each other. From that day, Kitty looked at Walter longer whenever she saw him. She noticed his furrowed brow during work, how he rubbed his temples when tired, how he saved the best food for patients. These details, once boring in her eyes, now became the most touching tenderness. Chapter 4: The Four Faces of Regret. Kitty's regrets can be divided into 4 types regrets nearly everyone encounters in life. The first is foundational regret. Why did I marry him so hastily? If I had waited 1 more year, met a few more people, would everything be different? This regret targets the choice itself, endless mourning for if only then. The second is moral regret. I betrayed my marriage and hurt someone who loved me wholeheartedly. I knew it was wrong, yet I did it anyway. This regret weighs heaviest, piercing conscience and robbing sleep. The third is courage regret. Why did I not face the truth? When Charles refused me, why did I cling to illusions? Why could I not admit I chose wrong? This regret hates one's own weakness and rages at cowardice. The fourth is relational regret. I missed the person who truly understood me. Walter knew her vanity, her fears, her fragility, yet still chose to love her, and she pushed him away. This regret hurts most because it points to lost possibility. These regrets layered like veils, nearly suffocating her. Yet ironically, amid Cholera's threat of death, she found courage to peel them away one by one. She confessed to a nun, "I spent my life running away, and now I have nowhere left to run." The nun smiled and replied, "Escape is where regret begins. Facing it is where it ends." Kitty began keeping a diary, not to record beauty or social life, but to confront herself. She dissected her past piece by piece, like peeling an onion, tears flowing layer by layer. As she wrote, she discovered regret was no longer an enemy but a teacher. It forced her to see her true self and to cherish what she had not yet lost. Diary writing became her daily private ritual. With a worn steel pen under dim oil lamplight, she filled page after page with her past. She wrote how she deliberately brushed her skirt against Charles's leg at dances, how she nodded absently during Walter's proposal, how she sneaked out for secret meetings and Hong Kong nights. When writing these, her pen paused long, tears blotting ink on the paper. She made no deletions or embellishments. She forced herself to lay out the ugliest parts, like a surgeon cutting open an abscess. Only by draining the poison could the wound heal. Once, writing about her wedding day when her mother said, "You've finally done something right," she realized her mother never loved her as a person, only the social value she brought. From childhood, Kitty had been trained as a performer, performing elegance, joy, happiness. Forming so long blurred what was real and what was fake even to herself. In the diary's final pages, she began writing about the future. She wrote, "If I survive and leave here, I will learn to take responsibility for myself. I will give my child a mother not defined by others." These crooked sentences carried unprecedented resolve. Regret is bitter medicine, hard to swallow, yet healing. It showed her how small she was, yet how much potential she still held. She even wrote apologies to Walter in her diary, word by word, as if repenting for her past self. "I once thought your silence was coldness. Now I know it was restraint. I once mocked your awkwardness. Now I understand it was deep affection." Her hand trembled as she wrote, but she did not stop. She knew only by speaking and writing these words could regret stop choking her throat. The diary became her confessional and her place of healing. Each finished page lightened her burden, as if those heavy if-onlys were scattering in the wind. Chapter 5. The Weight of Forgiveness. Walter eventually contracted cholera. Knowing his time was short, he still insisted on working at the hospital. Kitty stayed by his side, feeling unconditional love for the first time. Walter lay on a simple bed, pale and breathing weakly. Looking at Kitty, he said softly, "I forgive you, but more importantly, you must forgive yourself." Kitty was stunned. She had never considered that forgiving others is easy, but forgiving oneself is hardest. She had punished herself with guilt and tormented herself with remorse. Now she understood forgiveness is not indulgence, but release, giving oneself courage to move forward. After Walter's death, Kitty discovered she was pregnant. Child was Walter's legacy and her new beginning. She decided not to return to her mother or depend on any man. She would take the child to a new place and start a life of her own. On the return ship, she stood on deck gazing back at fading Mei-tan-fu. That city of death had become the place of her rebirth. She recalled Walter's final words and suddenly felt tears were no longer burdens, but cleansing. In the days after Walter's death, Kitty spoke little. She sat in the convent chapel for hours at a time. The nuns did not disturb her, only occasionally placing a bowl of hot porridge by her hand. They understood grief needs time to ferment. The pregnancy was revealed during a nun's examination. Kitty touched her slightly swelling belly, feeling a sacred connection for the first time. This child was no accident, but a gift Walter exchanged with his life. She resolved, no matter how hard the future, to bring this child safely into the world. Before leaving Mei-tan-fu, she sat long at Walter's grave. The tombstone was simple, bearing only his name and dates. She placed a bunch of wildflowers there and whispered, "Thank you for bringing me here. Thank you for making me a better person." The wind blew across the graveyard, gently stirring the flowers as if in reply. Kitty stood, brushed dust from her skirt. She did not cry, only stood quietly a while, then turned and left. In that instant, she felt a wonderful release. The past was not erased, but it no longer chained her. It became part of her without defining her entirely. The voyage back to Hong Kong was long and bumpy. Kitty spent most time on deck watching waves rise and fall. She no longer wore makeup, tied her hair simply, dressed in plain cotton. She found this far more freeing. No one judged her appearance. She could finally be herself. Her mother's letter had arrived in Hong Kong, still domineering. "Return at once. Everything can start over." Kitty read it, smiled, tore it to pieces, and scattered it into the sea. She knew her mother would never understand her change. She no longer needed her mother's approval. She began planning her future. She wanted simple work, perhaps teaching at a school or helping a charity. She wanted her child to grow in an environment free of vanity and calculation. She even imagined telling the child years later about their father, a silent yet great man who changed her entire life with love and forgiveness. When the ship docked, she took a deep breath. Hong Kong's air was still humid, but no longer suffocating. From this moment, her life was no longer a drama in others' eyes, but her own journey. Chapter 6. After tearing away the veil, back in Hong Kong, Kitty rejected all her mother's arrangements. She stopped attending dances and caring about others' opinions. She began learning to be a mother and to live for herself. She rented a small, simple, quiet house. Each morning, she sat by the window holding her child, watching sunlight stream in. She no longer wore makeup or sought praise, yet felt freer than ever. Maugham wrote at the novel's end, Freedom, the thought sang in her heart, even if the future was dim, like sunlight and morning mist, shimmering with rainbow colors. Kitty had finally torn away that veil. Beneath it was not ugliness, but her true self, vulnerable, flawed, once selfish, yet capable of growth. She understood there is no perfect love in life, but there is opportunity for self-redemption. Regret will not vanish, but it can become a ladder, helping one climb higher step by step. Chapters to everyone living with regret. The Painted Veil is never a novel of moral judgment. It is a mirror reflecting the cowardice, selfishness, and evasion we all may have. It tells us, regret is life's normal state. No one can avoid it entirely. The key is not never making mistakes, but daring to face them after they happen and daring to rise again. For ordinary people, this book's greatest meaning is this: no matter how foolish your past choices, no matter whom you have hurt, as long as you are willing to confront it, there is always a turning point. Betrayal in marriage, hasty decisions, misplaced affections, these regrets nearly everyone experiences. They are like scars, ugly yet real. Kitty transformed from a superficial social butterfly obsessed with appearance into a woman who understood love and being loved, responsibility and forgiveness. This is not a fairy tale, but the truest possibility of humanity. She used her hands to wipe patients' foreheads, her tears to wash away inner stains, and the rest of her life to protect the child Walter left behind. These acts are ordinary yet immensely powerful. If you are troubled by past decisions now, ask yourself 3 questions. What more can I do for others? What more can I do for myself? Am I willing to change starting today? The answers may not be far away. They may lie in your next action. Tear away the veil, and you will see light. That light is not blinding, yet warm enough to let you begin anew. When Kitty finally chose to leave Hong Kong for the Bahamas, she was no longer the panicked 25-year-old who rushed into marriage. She had learned independence, responsibility, and gentleness toward herself and others. She carried her child, Walter's wishes, and her reclaimed dignity toward an unknown future. This ending is not perfect, yet utterly real. Life has no flawless conclusion, only constant farewells and reunions. Kitty's story tells us regret is not the end, but a turning point. As long as we have courage to lift that veil obscuring our sight, we can always find our own path. Perhaps you too have asked yourself late at night, why have I become this way? Can I ever return to the pure self I once was? The answer is yes. Change needs no earth-shaking miracle. It often begins with one small facing, one brave admission, one quiet forgiveness. The Painted Veil does not teach you how to avoid regret, but how to live with it when it comes, how to make it your life's sharpest teacher. May you also find that light after tearing away the veil in your own story. Perhaps tearing it hurts, perhaps the light stings, but believe this, that pain is the labor of rebirth, that light belongs to you. Kitty did it. You can too. Starting today, no need to rush to escape or hide. Try pausing to look beneath that thin veil at who you truly are. Then, gently and bravely, lift it.